Welcome to Toy Business Unboxed, your gateway to the secrets of the toy industry. Here, Jason Hsieh, a toy entrepreneur and expert in the
Every
field.
product we develop is really inspired by some of the real life experience that we have with our son, major retailers.
Yeah.
So check, is it? We think this is cool. Is this cool?
The thing with Amazon is just it become more and more complicated over the years. Yeah, maybe you can also consider to create more online resources.
We'll guide you through the enchanting world of toy design, marketing, and manufacturing. Now let the unboxing begin.
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Toy Business Unboxed. I'm your host, Jason Hsieh, where we explore the world of toy design and marketing. Today, I'm thrilled to have Ihi. Did I say your first name correctly?
Yeah.
Ahi.
Yes.
The founder of Little R and the chairwoman of Women in Toys. Her diverse background as a former attorney and also working with different communications consultant has a very uniquely positioned her to lead in the toy industry. And she's here today with us to share her insight how she's currently blending creativities with marketing and also the role that she played in the organization Women in Toys. So thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jason. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah. So first of all, can you tell the audience a little bit more about your transition from law to toy industry?
It's a really fun story, kind of like a pandemic era project that just kind of kept going. So basically, I'm an attorney by training. I'm still a licensed attorney. I'm that kind of little verbal word nerd that likes to look at contracts and put things together. But I have immigrant parents, and being an artist, they said please go do something practical. So that's how I ended up at law school, and I had a really interesting journey in the law. Like a lot of my peers, I went to a big school. A lot of my peers went to a large firm, worked for banks and NGOs, and I had two distinct and specific goals. I wanted to work at the UN and I wanted to work in entertainment law. And then I did both of those things. And then when I was leaving private practice, I kind of, working in an entertainment law firm, I realized I'd rather be on the creative side of things. So I was actually producing TV and film projects for a little while.
Amazing.
And then I had my daughter, and that was sort of press pause on some stuff. And that was in October of 2019. And so my maternity leave was ending in March of 2020. As you know, the world shuts down, and I find myself at home with a 4.5-month-old daughter, and I need to keep her entertained. And there's no parks, there's no going anywhere, there's no grandparent visits. I've got to keep her occupied. So that's how I invented my first product. I made little abstract art pieces. I put them on cards and bound them in silicone and added a tether and a bunch of other elements. And that's how I invented my first product. And it was my mother, who was the entrepreneur with family, recognized I had done that. And prior to that, I had no idea this world existed. It's true. I've been somebody who's been crafting in her basement for years. I just love to make things. My Instagram handle is He Makes Stuff. And it's the idea that I love to work with my hands and I like to get creative. So like the story of Little Art is that I believe everybody deserves, beautiful, functional things. And toys are the ultimate functional, beautiful object. They relax you, they help stir cognitive development from ages 0 to 99. And the stories of the toys I develop come out of play with my daughter. So those are real play patterns I replicate in products that I develop. And the story with me joining Women in Toys Licensing Entertainment, or WIT as we are known, is that as part of discovering that I was in this industry, not knowing anything, just sort of Googled and tried to find trade groups or women's organizations that knew something about this world. And I became very involved with WIT and then joined the board. And I was elected to the chairwomanship of the board of directors in January. And I served as an empowerment ambassador, as I call myself. I seek to build advocacy for our community, developing our tenets around pay transparency, equity, IP protection, small business, entrepreneurship, self-actualization, and et cetera. Just because, WIT's a really unique organization in that we represent everybody from the tiniest one-person solo proprietorship, like myself, all the way up to, we have CEOs and C-suite level executives of some of the largest toy and entertainment companies in the world. And what binds us is that we're all women advocating for a fair shake, equality, and the advancement of both our disciplines and the profession. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, so your background is very unique. So how do you feel like your background in law influenced your approach in the toy industry?
In a lot of different ways, actually. I mean, both in the sort of explicit, like sort of obvious ways, and that when I look at a contract, I feel really confident reviewing. Just I'm very comfortable. I'm like, oh, I know exactly what this is, I know what to do, and I had questions. And I was actually looking at a contract for somebody yesterday on a different
Oh,
city, and I was like, oh, this is fun. Like I remember why I was doing this.
wow.
But then also in terms of your, one's ability to parse language and competing trends, we talk about part of the job of the industrial designer is taking sometimes competing trends and ideas and harmonizing them in one product. And certainly, at least when you practice transactional law, you take lots of deal points and lots of priorities and you synthesize them in a document, right? So you're trained in that method of creative but analytical thinking at the same time. So I certainly see that reflected in my daily practice, both as an inventor and as a professional. And then also being able to review sort of the large macro trends in the industry, recognizing how those work together and competing priorities. For example, we have sustainability as an ongoing priority, particularly from a parent's perspective. I'm a parent, so I'm a buyer, so I care about sustainability. But also kids like novelty. So how do you combine, right? How do you keep up with trends and combine novelty with a buying population that's increasingly concerned with usability, sustainability, et cetera? That's just one example of the sustainability piece. And then there's obviously the STEM and STEAM argument. How are we, we want to empower girls' choice. So for a long time, things got more gender neutral as we wanted to just empower children. And then there's this question of like, are we neglecting what girls' toys can do? Or neglecting what boys' toys can do? And again, competing priorities at times. So being able to keep lots of different strains of discussion live at the same time to develop a product or products or processes that work for everybody. So that's certainly why law helps in that way.
I see. And I want to transition to your own toy that you kind of mentioned earlier. So I know Little are focusing on like innovative product. Do you have any product like you can show the audience right now?
I can't right now. I'm just because I actually do have something that I'm pretty close to launching. And I might talk to you about it in the future, but the principles there are, it is something that it combines the competing priorities of sustainability and novelty, STEM and STEAM mesh toy, developing that sort of social emotional learning aspect.
Oh wow!
With the sensory aspect of building and taking things apart. And then also I love to come back to STEAM as a concept because I think STEM concepts are important, but when you're a child, having the creativity, working in concert with when you're developing STEM concepts is important because it's not that, you have one chance when you're a child to impress upon these kids that this is not just rote learning. These are tools that you can use as you get older, and engaging them in a creative process while you're teaching them, I think really helps those lessons stick. If somebody had explained physics to me as to like, it's not these vector dry equations, learn in high school, but it's like, this is actually why your super soaker is so powerful. This is actually why a slingshot can, go in a parabolic arc and what that means. If you can break those things down in a way that kids can appreciate and understand, I think you'll just have more enduring lessons. And so I'm a very big advocate of that. And that's so the concept I'm developing now, or concepts I'm developing now, are along that sort of those principles. So more to come.
100%, yeah. And that remind me of the certified play expert program I just attended. They spent a lot of time discussing about child development and different stages of child development, and how can toy and play to be really contributing to part of that. So so for those of you that haven't heard of the certified play expert, please check it out. It's on the Astra's website. It's a certification program that you can take.
Very cool.
Me and my sister went through the 2-day in-person version. It was very, very beneficial. We both learned a lot in the 2-day certification. So I want to transition next to talk a little bit more about your role with the Women in Toys organization. How does Women in Toys currently support women professionals in the toy industry?
Oh my gosh, in so many like implicit and explicit ways. I mean, we have our formal programming. I mean, I think the marquee example is the Ruth Handler mentorship program, where we have expressed deliberate mentorship network with mentees and mentors, where we meet your needs at every stage of the career you are. So it's not just entry level professionals who are seeking that sort of older voice or more established voice, people who are mid-level, people who are seniors seeking to transition or capitalize on their new strengths and grow. With greatest strength is the authenticity and the durability of its professional network. And that's expressed in the Ruth Handler mentorship program. But then also we have the sort of our formal mentorship and networking opportunities. We have a very active Slack channel. We have many chapter events at our localities across the country and across the world. We have a very active presence in numerous trade shows. We were just at Licensing Expo. We had a smaller presence at Astra. We're obviously at Toy Fair every year, BLE, and the list goes on and on and on. We'll be at Gen Con over the summer. As we develop, we started off as women's toys, added this licensing and entertainment piece because we're sort of following the way toys have sort of grown as a sector within the economy. Always there to support women professionals, whether they're starting out again or they are more mid-level to more senior level. So we're there to provide webinars on sort of explicit job training, resume building, all the way up to sort of just professional, emotional professional coaching. I mentioned mentorship. There's also just the almost kind of a sisterhood where there's always a WIT member who's willing to just take a moment to share an insight or share a contact or just support each other. And then increasingly we're moving more into an explicit vein of advocacy where we're sort of looking at that women's advancement at a systemic level where there are policies and programs that support business owners and sort of how do we capitalize on those and how do we make those supportive and inclusive of women and their goals? Because as I always like to talk about the business case of women's empowerment, it's not, there's obviously the normative value of being inclusive and supportive, but the truth is, women are the household, we make the household purchase decisions, leadership at every segment of.
We all know who is the real boss in the house.
Absolutely.
It's my wife.
And so when you include those voices, it just redounds the benefit of the entire industry, both listening to them, and that's about $300 billion a year. We are a significant driver of. So it just makes sense for WIT to be part of that discussion.
Of course. Actually, my sister, which is our marketing director, she is also volunteering as a mentor in Women in Toys as well.
Wonderful.
She's pretty involved. But I have a question. So how can men also get involved? Can we also volunteer our time to help?
Of course. Men are active allies within WIT. We obviously serve the interests of women, but that doesn't mean that we don't have men who come in and serve as mentors in some capacity. We have lots of male volunteers to do some webinars, other programming. Someone like yourself would be a really wonderful addition to our webinar library, or just sort of a one-on live event in terms of marketing, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs as WIT members, and I think this kind of programming is very useful for them. But we certainly have many male champions and allies across the industry.
I see. And can you share some of the key initiative that we is currently doing this year in 2024 to help women advance in their careers?
Oh, absolutely. So in addition to the sort of the yearly Ruth Handler mentorship program, we have we're celebrating Wonder Women everywhere and capping that off at the Wonder Women Awards, our gala in Los Angeles. And this theme is, without Toy Fair taking place in New York, we had an opportunity to sort of refocus on the efforts of women across the country, across industries. And one thing we would like to do is that we're kind of throwing the spotlight on women, and who, not just women as individuals who achieve, but women who involve and pull up whole teams of their colleagues with them, both male and female, for the benefit of companies or products or processes. And that's sort of a unique focus this year. I mean, it's always a WIT value to celebrate camaraderie and support, but we're making that more explicit in 2024.
Do you also have chapter internationally, like Japan as well?
We don't. I don't think we have a Japan chapter. We do have Hong Kong, certainly London. There's a European. I think usually we meet at Nuremberg, so I think there's a Nuremberg chapter, but there's a London chapter. Yes. So and growing. We're always accepting interest. We have members, of course, spread out all over the world. And one thing we introduced this year were sort of our working groups. So. We have a number of Asian Pacific, Oceanic members in New Zealand and Australia. And we have a sustainability working group as a result, because that's obviously a very main issue in that part of the world, Oceania, New Zealand, and they participate readily in that.
How about any Asian country? Because I speak Chinese and Japanese myself. I would love to help with the Asian.
We'd love that. Yeah, we have a Hong Kong chapter. We had a presence in Japan. It's not as active as others. I mean, it can wax and wane depending on who's participating, but it's always welcome.
I see. Yeah. Got it. And my next question is, you kind of briefly mentioned about the WIT mentor program, but how does it work exactly for people that's interested?
Oh, wonderful. So you can either as a mentee or as a mentor. So from the perspective of mentee, you sign up as a participant and you enter in what you're looking to get out of mentorship, whether it's
Okay.
additional professional development or direct coaching or career transition, or you're looking to, sort of professionalize your operation. You're looking to specifically focus on how to become a better marketer or specifically focus on how to become a better leader. And
Yeah.
you enter in your needs. And then you are matched personally and directly with a mentor who has deep expertise in that area. So from the mentor's perspective, you sign up and you volunteer your time, you identify what your strengths are, how you
Yeah.
can participate, and you're paired off with your mentee. I'm a former participant of the Ruth Handler Mentor Program.
Okay.
It's really great. I have a very warm relationship with my mentor to this day.
Oh,
She's
wow.
very, very helpful and very supportive, and you get some really warm, genuine connections out of it on both sides, both mentees and mentors.
How often do you typically meet
Oh,
virtually?
so you have sort of between 4 and 6 formalized segments. So it's actually really great because it's very regimented in terms of goals. And you have your introductory section, goal setting, goal targeting, and there's a really nice rubric that's already set out for you. And that's a nice advantage of a formal mentorship program because it's not the sort
Mhm.
of diffuse relational thing that sometimes mentorship programs can be. So you have
Mhm.
4 and 6 meetings. The duration is about, I want to say between 2 to 3 months or so over the course of those
Okay.
meetings. And the idea is you get out of it a tangible goal. You started at A, and the idea is you feel like you're now at point D, where you can take
Mm.
on more on your own. You feel more empowered to step in the direction you want to go in.
I see. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you for offering that as a program. And it is free for the members
Oh,
to
yes,
pay,
yes.
right? Okay.
Membership covers the mentorship program. It covers the webinars, and some live events. Some you do have to pay out of pocket for and register
Sure.
for.
Sure.
Obviously we're a nonprofit, so donations are always welcome. But membership does come with a lot of both tangible and intangible benefits.
Well, talk about live event. You just recently wrap up a huge live event at Licensing Expo.
Yes, we did it.
For the audience that's listening or watching, can you tell the audience a little bit more about the event so if they want to participate next year, they know what to expect?
Absolutely. So we normally have a presence at Licensing Expo, which is the sort of the preeminent North American licensing trade show.
Yes.
And it's great with WIT being in both licensing and entertainment, having a presence there for our members. And we typically have a breakfast where we meet with our sponsors, have our members who are present at the show get a chance to network and talk and catch up. This year we did something special. We actually had our Empowerment Day event at Licensing Expo.
Yeah, I saw it.
It was a great and unique opportunity. One from the perspective of a smaller inventor. Someone like me, I don't have Disney money. I'm not going to a licensing
Yeah.
trade show, but it's important to see sort of the life cycle of where your concept ends up as a product within the larger
Mm.
marketing plan of a larger
Okay.
company, or even the industry in general. There's certainly trends that'll be readily apparent as you're walking the floor. So that
Sure.
is invaluable being able to participate in that. And then also the Empowerment Day itself, I know it's evolved over the years, but it's, typically it's this sort of understanding of an MBA in a day where you can come in
Oh, wow.
concept to pitch, right? But what you're not, in addition to pitching your concept to actual buyers, getting real feedback in terms of their actual, 2025, in this case, 2025 to 2026 product placement, how they could see a concept like that in their product lineup. There are
Yeah.
also a number of live immediate mentorship tables as part of the event. So there is a marketing mentor,
Oh, nice.
there's a product development mentor, there's an inventor mentor, where you get real feedback from professionals who are currently working in this space. It's sort of this
Nice.
immediate insight and sort of the elite capacity of an industry that you get from, you start at point zero, you get here, you get this 30,000 foot view of what's really going on. And that's just sort of the most emblematic crystallization of what WIT can offer its individual members, and that we're really
Nice.
give the keys to the kingdom to our members, because we're really trying to lift up each and every one of us.
Are you planning to do that next year as well?
So it's part of some discussions. I mean, we might think of, Empowerment Day may take on a flavor of, depending on what the trade show is, sort of a more licensing focused Empowerment Day, or a
Yeah.
general, going back to something like Toy Fair, where it's everything in invention.
I'm actually going to a licensing show in Japan next month. It's called
Okay.
Content Tokyo.
Oh, great.
You
Yes.
guys are doing any
And
event
there
in
was a
Japan?
big Japanese pavilion at licensing, which I'm sure you're aware, at Licensing Expo this year, because that's
Yeah.
becoming more and more emergent and more dependent. So certainly we're looking for that integration in the future.
I see.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, let me know once there's a Tokyo chapter. I'd love to get involved.
Please, absolutely. Yeah.
So, and I think as a chairwoman for the
Mhm.
Women in Toys, how do you juggle everything that you do? And you also have your own business too, right?
It's a really good question. How do I juggle it? Well, it's kind of like when I go back to when my daughter was born, she was like
Yeah.
5 years old and I was going to sleep. And at this point, I just taught myself to think of going to bed as a nap. Just don't think of it like it's a nap. And you feel wonderful. You're like, oh, a 3-hour nap? Okay. It's a nap. It's good. I'm happy to take a nap now. And I was putting my head on the pillow, and it occurred to me, for the foreseeable future, I'm going to be tired at the end of the day. And I can either just be tired, or I can be tired and feel good about what I did that day. So it's just a question of like pushing into your extra gear. I have wit. I am a dedicated chairwoman. I love this organization. I'm very passionate about the work we do, but I'm also a small business owner. In addition to launching, attempting to launch new products. Currently continually developing new ideas. I'm an artist. I have my creative practice. And so it really is, you get up in the day. I have 8 million little notebooks. It's super ADD. So like there's always some kind of wild mental map. My office is a mess. I'm so glad you guys can't see it. But I keep it, I just keep the balls in play and I put my finger in the air and feel the wind. I'm like, all right, today is a good day. Today's an email day. And I have like a master list of, it's got to get done. So however it gets done, it's like a Montessori method. Like it's just got to get done, however it's going to get done. I'm really motivated. And I also, I'm able to take a few steps back and recognize like, I feel really, really lucky to be in this way. I feel like this is the strangest mashup of my particular skill set as a job. Like it's kind of eerie how perfect it worked out. Like from the perspective of an inventor and artist, having a legal background and understanding as I'm making something like, okay, well, this is protectable, this is not protectable.
Yeah.
Like having that constant monologue in the back of my head, or when I'm talking to my members and we're talking about business development, we're talking about advocacy, being aware of what the dynamics are. So I don't know, I just feel lucky, and that just kind of gives me that extra energy. I mean, that's the answer. It's hard, it's hard, but will takes you almost all the way there. And then it's just a little organization. Although I want to say to anybody who's listening, if you have any tips on organizing, if anyone who's like a super organizer, a super planner, or a super like method person, I'm really interested in learning more about that, because it gets to a point where like
I have a good advice for you. Hire an executive assistant.
Oh my gosh, I think I'm getting to a point where I really think I need to, because I've got like 4.
So my executive assistant have been working for me for 2-3 years now. She is from Philippines. She works from home. And we pay her a decent amount, about $3 an hour. That's a decent wage in Philippines. And she check all my emails. She kind of coordinate my calendar. She help with the podcast, getting you on my calendars.
Appreciate it.
And that really save a lot of time, because I really don't like checking email myself as an entrepreneur. I have too many inboxes.
I know.
So,
I know. Just managing the inboxes, because it gets to, I mean, I'm really good about what I kind of have like my sort of janky system. I have my color-coded Google profiles. So I have my yellow one, my purple, and my blue one, and I just keep them on my desktop at any time. So I'm able to just sort of say, okay, well, this came in from here. And I have
the second recommendation I will have for you and for the listener is to use ClickUp. We have been using ClickUp for over almost 2 years now. It's a wonderful project management system. And it can get pretty complicated if you want it to be. For us, for our ClickUp, we have dashboard for almost everything.
Okay, great.
We have automation for almost everything too. Like this podcast that we're doing right now, I have automation in ClickUp to auto trigger the next task based on the stage of the podcast, because podcasts have many, many different stages. Well, and on average, myself and my team spend 10 hours per episode on producing this show. So it's a lot of juggling, a lot of work. But I think having a strong project management system is a must for any entrepreneur, especially toy entrepreneur.
You're absolutely right. And as I look to level up, I'm like, I don't know that my notebook system is necessarily going to cut it. I've used ClickUp when I've worked with other people on other projects, and I love the visual layout. I'm a colors person, so I like the way that it looks. That's something I'm gonna consider. Just sort of formalizing some of this.
Let me know if you need some help. I can show you our setup. Our setup might be a little bit too advanced for you to start. But
you guys seem really involved.
The thing is, ClickUp also have free training called ClickUp University. You can take free courses from ClickUp for like beginner that's using the system. Actually, our project manager actually went through the certification program. There's 3 levels: there's beginner, intermediate, and expert certification. She went through all the certification. I went through the certification until intermediate. I didn't finish the expert certification yet, but those certifications that's offered from ClickUp for free, that's a really, really good resource to get a foundation. And you also learn about how to use a project management tool correctly. Because
Certainly.
you can have the best tool, but if the data is not consistent, it's not going to work. So for our system, every single task have a due date, have an assignees, have time estimate, and every single task have time track. So we know exactly how much time each team member is spending on every single task every single day. And we can create fancy dashboard because the data integrity is so important for project.
I think that's really critical. I mean, just because, if particularly when you're a creative person, it's always the tension between wanting to have
there's so much in your head.
Mental, like you
just down into a system.
Exactly. Having some kind of simple system you can just refer to really quickly, because keeping a lot of, it's going to sound funny, but keeping a lot of blank space in your head is really important. Like just have have ideas. And so that's kind of why I end up just picking a day where I'm like, okay, today's an office day, not a workshop day. Today's a workshop day. It's not a day, because you need to sort of keep those things.
So usually I'll brand down all the idea into like an issue list in our ClickUp system. So then we'll discuss as a team, do we want to do something about it, or is it just another thing we can push off? And that's a different way to organize it. And like I mentioned to you when we met in person in the dinner, I'm also a huge fan of EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System. It transformed my business 3 years ago when I implement that framework. I would love to do a webinar just on that. I can talk.
Is that just like a business methodology?
It's a business methodology invented by Joe Wickman. He is also a serial entrepreneur, and he teach small and mid-sized business owner on how to operate a business effectively using 6 core components. There's a vision, people, there's processes and data, and also how do you get tractions. That's about 8 book in his book library. I read all 7 so far. I still have 1 more book to go in his entire library.
I like that. Very cool. I'll review that, because it's just sort of, as I'm pivoting my business into a different direction, that's something I think I could use, because one method, when it works, it's more passive. I think I'm at a place where I feel more confident. I want to be more.
And there's a free resource I'll also recommend to the listener as well, and also to you as well. It's called organizationalcheckup.com. It's a free assessment tool that's created by the EOS organization, which you can take this assessment, and it's going to give you a score from 1 to 100 to see how well your business is structured. Guess what? 3 years ago, when I took this score, I got like 50. So I got an F pretty much as a business owner.
Honestly, I don't even know. Mine would probably be like a 9. Like it would just be.
But you need to know where you're at so you can improve it. So when I do the assessment, we are about 90 right now.
Excellent. I mean, that's actually a point I want to stress to people who are listening now. Part of the difficulty sometimes of being an entrepreneur, and certainly my members report this a lot, is just not knowing where you are, and the sense that you don't know what you don't know. Like, I mean, the most unnerving part, and that's what generates a lot of the self-doubt that keeps you stuck. You maybe find yourself filling out paperwork for months at a time because you just feel you kind of lock up, and procrastination takes over, or you focus on tasks that you feel are manageable that aren't actually efficient. So being able to have like a direct, immediate assessment projected back to you, I think helps you move on. Because at the end of the day, it's checklists. Just boom, 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 move through the checklist and get the data, get it done, and make a plan that makes sense. So
does a woman in Toy also facilitate like small mastermind, maybe a group of 10 people get together once a month and just sharing business ideas?
So that's not actually something. Do you mean like
because I participate in a lot of different business mastermind over the year. Currently, I have a mastermind for like all the different businesses I run. So I meet with other business owners once a week.
Can you say more about what that is? Is it just sort of like hypothetical business ideas, or people bringing
it's real business application. For example, once a week, I'll meet with other, because I also run a digital marketing agency, right? So I'm part of a mastermind, which we meet every single week, and we just share idea and talk about what is working, what's not working, and just exchange idea with other business owner. And sometimes you'll be frustrated on trying to get something done, but someone else already done it a couple months ago. That's how you learn from each other. And then you share idea with other people. That's how mastermind work. You just meet once a week.
It's like a support group for business owners almost.
Yes.
That's a wonderful idea. I think that's something I don't think it's something we do, and it's something that we could certainly incorporate. Just have these sort of a business owner working group or business owner. We do have a very active Slack channel, and I know people who roll their eyes, but it is a sincere, well attended effort. You can't
The
anything
major
into
difference
it.
between a Slack channel and a mastermind is you meet the same group of people, like they just say, usually
Over
you
and
want to
over
keep it
again.
under 10
Mhm.
over and over again every single week. For
Mhm.
example, I'm in this e-commerce mastermind. We have been meeting for the past 2 years, every single
Mhm.
week. So
Mhm.
same
I
group of people. So
I think that's consistent. It's like being in a seminar with a bunch of people who are going through similar issues. I think that's a kind of effort that would actually fit in really well with Wits ethos, and that we really do work to support each other. So that's something I
yeah,
explore. Certainly.
And also in another mastermind is it's called Special Father Network. It's a mastermind for special needs dad, and
Um,
we share about parenting as well. Like
yeah.
what is
No,
working, what's not working, and we meet once a week as well.
that's really, 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 really important. And in terms of just building the kind of support you need, being in that position, like my daughter is on the spectrum, and just being able to speak to people who have a sense of what that's like, and like with kids like that, you've met exactly one, and so it can
Yeah.
be kind of alienating, it can be strange, but there's so much variation even with neurotypical children, and being a parent is already alienating. I think it's really for people out there who are considering that, please do, because you'll learn so much about what you actually do know, what you're doing well, and hear about it from the perspective of other parents. So that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, but going back to women in toy,
Mhm.
what kind of like professional women will you like to encourage people to join? Like, what kind of audience that's best for
I
you?
mean, it's like anybody in the. I mean, it's going to sound really general, but it's anybody in this increasingly diverse industry. So, the typical, maybe 20 years ago, it was a woman who was working at a toy company and or a
Yeah.
designer or a toy developer. But with these, women who are in manufacturing, we have women who are engineers. We have women who are straight up, actual just artists who are working in the visual arts. We have women who are, sort of associated professional services. We have female lawyers, engineers, project managers, people who
Whoa.
in sort of pure entertainment vertical, people who are coming into sort of consumer product space, who are in beauty, for example, who are developing a beauty product, and the marketing people who are in gift wrap. I think the commonality is, women who are passionate about the work that they do and are seeking to join a community of like-minded women in that regard, who are trying to reach into their best selves, develop their most effective capacity, and share that out with their respective audiences and colleagues.
Got it. Thank you for sharing that. And as we are winding down in today's interview, I asked this final question to all the guests: is if you have to share just one piece of advice with someone that's getting started in the toy industry, what would that be?
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, because the fear is the thing that will keep you back. That is the strongest voice in your head, the voice that is saying doubt, I don't know, I'm not sure, I don't know what to do. That keeps your glued to the wall.
Hmm.
Don't be afraid. You're gonna make mistakes. You're not gonna know what you're doing. You're gonna say the silly thing. You're gonna send the wrong email. You're gonna buy the wrong product. You're gonna talk to the wrong people. Don't be afraid, because the sooner you get started, there's no replacement for the real world experience. And so don't be afraid. Get started. Keep an open mind and open ears, and be ready to talk to people. And also, WIT is always here. So if you've done it and you're stuck, there's a WIT member who has been through this. Please
Yeah.
talk to us. Please reach out to us. We're happy to help, even if it's just listening. Because sometimes over the course of a 20-minute conversation, and I've done this at a trade show, I've just pulled somebody aside on the floor and just spoken to them and said, 20 minutes later, I'm like, well, here's 4 emails of people you can talk to. Really and truly. And sometimes it's just
Yeah.
because, particularly for entrepreneurs, that journey is lonely. You have this, especially the more unique your focus and your product is, there's no road book, there's no map.
Yeah.
So you're so focused on what you're doing, it can feel insurmountable. But chances are, a lot of us have been there before, and we're always willing to help you. So please don't be afraid.
Got it. Thank you for sharing that. And how can people find you?
Well, I am Ehi at womenandtoys.com. So you can just reach out to me, and it's womenandtoys.com is our website. I'm also the owner of Little Art, so littleartdesign.com, and Ehi at littleartdesign.com. I invent. I also consult on designs. If you have something you are working on and you think you want to tweak it, or you want to make it sort of more more artistic, or more more streamlined, or however, if you were interested in developing a STEM and STEAM toy, I do that all the time. So please reach out to me. And hope to hear from you all soon. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for being on our show and sharing all the wonderful thing you're doing with the Women in Toy organization and
Thank
all the
you.
support you're providing to the members as well.
Thank you very much. It's real. I'm
Thank you so
honored to
much.
do it. Thank you.